Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ed Flynn. I'm the City Council President. Viewers can watch the council meeting live on YouTube by visiting boston.gov/citycouncil-tv. I'd like to ask my colleagues and those in the audience to please silence their cell phones and electronic devices. Thank you. Please also be respectful and do not disrupt the meeting while you are here. If you are disruptive, you will be asked to leave, and if you fail to comply, you will be escorted out. Please also note that according to City Council rules, there are no signs allowed in the chamber. Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll to ascertain the presence of a quorum, please?
Councilor Arroyo. Present. Councilor Baker.
Here.
Councilor Ball.
Present.
Councilor Brady. Councilor Calero.
Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Councilor Flaherty.
Here.
Councilor Flynn.
Here.
Councilor Lara.
Here.
Councilor Lujan.
Present.
Councilor Mejia.
Here.
Councilor Murphy.
Present.
And Councilor Worrell. There is a quorum present.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Clerk, please reflect the attendance that City Council Worrell is present. This week's clergy is Minister Randy Muhammad from Mosque 11 in Grove Hall. The minister was invited by City Councilor Worrell. Councilor Worrell, would you like to come to the podium and introduce our clergy for today?
Thank you, Council President, and it's an honor today to be able to introduce Minister Randy Muhammad, who has been an ally with our office in District 4. Randy Muhammad served as an assistant minister to Minister Dar Muhammad at the Nation of Islam's Muhammad Mosque, number 11 in Grove Hall for 15 years before being selected to be the senior minister of Muhammad Mosque, number 11 in December of 2018. Minister Randy also holds the distinction of being the first Afro-Latina minister to hold that position. Minister Randy Muhammad supervises a staff of 26 personnel who oversee 11 different socially engaged ministries. Minister Randy Muhammad has also served Muhammad Mosque number 11 in the city of Boston through his prison ministry for the last 29 years, serving in the county jails as well as the state prisons. For 19 years, he served as the first and only Nation of Islam chaplain on salary working in the Department of Corrections of Massachusetts. Minister Randy Muhammad also served as co-chair to the local organizing committee, an organization that worked collaboratively with various community organizations to strategize and plan ways to improve their collective condition. He served within the Ministry of Justice of the local organizing committee to put on seminars to educate the community about unjust laws and laws that are applied unjustly that disproportionately affect the Black and brown communities. In 2019, he formed the Boston chapter of the 10,000 Fearless Peacemakers to train men to engage in the work to make our community a safe and decent place to live. In November 2019, he graduated the first class of trained and certified peacemakers who underwent training in conflict mediation, nonviolence crisis intervention, Narcan, as well as CPR and first aid, and have been patrolling the streets of Boston ever since promoting peace. Minister Randy is a founding member and executive director of Torchlight Recovery Incorporated, a nonprofit entity providing a plethora of services to our community. As the Executive Director of Torchlight Recovery Incorporated, he is responsible for overseeing Torchlight's administration, programs, and execution of strategic planning. Key duties include fundraising, marketing, and community engagement and outreach. Minister Randy is constantly reached out to by community members to provide guidance, counseling on various issues of concern, from conflict resolution to violence prevention among our youth. Welcome, Minister Muhammad.
Thank you. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness to the oneness of God and to the oneness of His prophetic community. I thank Him for my leader and teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. In their names, I greet this august body. Assalamu alaikum. And for those who are unfamiliar, simply means peace be unto you. City Councilor Brian World, thank you for providing me the opportunity to come before this body. Our city is a great city, one of the greatest cities in the country, and hence one of the greatest cities in the world. We have a lot of opportunity. Let's make sure that the opportunities that come our way reach all of our people. Currently, my concern, which should be all of our concern, is the violence that took place yesterday at one of our high schools, the Jeremiah E. Burke. There was a shooting that took place. These are the things that we must come together as a city to address the root cause of the violence, and it's something that we must work collaboratively. We all have our responsibility. It is not just law enforcement, it is legislators, and it's also the common citizens. We must work together to solve these problems. So with that, I open and offer this prayer. We pray in Islam when we do a dua, we spread out our hands as if we're receiving a gift, but pray in the position that is your tradition. In the name of the one true and living God, to whom all holy praises are forever due, the Lord of all the worlds, the creator of the heavens and the earth, the revealer of all truth, and the sender of all prophets. We beseech your aid and we ask for your mercy, for we believe in you and trust in you for all that we need. Surely we are helpers in thine cause, but all of your prophets, messengers, and apostles. Please grant to us success. Bless our city. Bless our mayor. Bless our city councilors. Bless these chambers. Bless those that are doing the people's work. Guide their hearts, their passion, that they may do the work that is in the best interest of all people, not negating the least fortunate or the marginalized. We ask for your blessings in the name of all of your prophets, from Abraham to Muhammad, including Jesus the Christ. Let us all say amen. Amen. Thank you.
And I'd like to ask my colleagues and those in attendance to please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Minister Randy, for being with us, for providing us those words and those prayers. We also wanted to let you know we have great respect for Minister Dawn as well. We've known Minister Dawn for 40 years, and during difficult times in the city of Boston, the Nation of Islam and Minister Dawn were always there for the residents on public safety issues and economic development issues as well. That supermarket shopping lot area was the result of the leadership of the Nation of Islam and Minister Dawn building stronger neighborhoods. So please let Minister Dawn know that we have great respect for him as well. Thank you. Thank you, Council Worrell. Mr. Clerk, can you reflect the record that City Councilor Coletta is present? We're on to approval of the minutes. Seeing and hearing no discussion on the matter, the chair moves to approve the minutes from the last meeting. All those in favor of approving the minutes from the last meeting say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Thank you. The minutes of the last meeting have been approved. Communications from Her Honor the Mayor. Mr. Clerk, can you please read docket 1210, please?
Docket number 1210, message in order for an appropriation order in the amount of $30,300,000 to cover the costs designing, constructing, equipping, and furnishing a new building for the Josiah Quincy Upper School.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Docket 1210 will be referred to the Committee on Ways and Means. Mr. Clerk, can you please read docket 1211?
Docket number 1211, message in order authorizing the City of Boston to accept and expend the amount of $275,929.58 of reallocated funds from the Emergency Solutions Grant Program CARES Act appropriation from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The funds are authorized by the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, also known as CARES Act, Public Law 116-136.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Lara, Chair of the Committee on Housing and Community Development. Councilor Lara, you have the floor.
Thank you, President Flynn, and good afternoon. I would like to make a request that we suspend and pass this docket. This grant is towards the Mayor's Office of Housing and gives us $275,929.58 that would directly benefit individuals and families who are experiencing homelessness or receiving assistance. At this time, the Mayor's Office of Housing is adjusting their Emergency Solutions Grants Program budget to add the $275,000. In addition, ESG-CV reallocated funds that were awarded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and is splitting it evenly between two activities. One is rapid rehousing and the other one is emergency shelter. These are really two extremely important needs for community members, especially during this time of the year. And I just want to ask my colleagues to suspend and pass this grant. It's a small amount so that we can assist the families who are facing homelessness as soon as possible.
Thank you, Councilor Lara. Councilor Lara seeks suspension of the rules and passage of docket 1211. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The docket is passed. Mr. Clerk, can you please read docket 1212 and 1213 together?
Docket number 1212, message in order for the confirmation of the appointment of Katie Wewell as a member of the Zoning Board of Appeal for a term expiring May 1st, 2024. And docket number 1213, message in order for the confirmation of the reappointment of Jean Pinato as a member of the Zoning Board of Appeal for a term expiring May 1st, 2024.
Thank you. Docket 1212 and 1213 will be referred to the Committee on Planning, Development, and Transportation. Matters recently heard for possible action. Mr. Clerk, can you please read docket 0920, please?
Docket number 0920, message in order for your approval and order amending City of Boston Code Ordinances 5, Section 5-5.10 regarding salary categories for certain offices and City of Boston Code Ordinances Chapter 2, Section 2-8.1, salary of city councilors, and Section 2-7.11, salary of the mayor.
Thank you. I'd like to limit discussion on this matter to the chair and the city council president, as we have had a hearing on this on Monday, and that was our forum to discuss this ordinance. The chair recognizes Councilor Louis-Jean, chair of the Committee on Government Operations. Councilor Louis-Jean, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to everyone who came to the hearing. This ordinance filed by the mayor will amend current laws regarding salary for certain offices, city councilors, and the mayor. Currently, the mayor's annual salary is $207,000, and members of the city council is half of that at $103,500. This proposal would increase the salary of the city councilors to $115,000, and it would increase the salary of the mayor to $230,000. Sections 3 through 7 of the docket increase the salary ranges for various appointed positions in the following categories: Category 1A, Category 1B, Category 2, Category 3, and Category 4A. The range for Category 1A is $260,000 to $325,000. And for those who don't know, that includes the police commissioner, that includes the fire commissioner, the administrative officer. The range for Category 1B is $160,000 to $225,500. The range for Category 2 is $140,000 to $180,000. And the range for Category 3 is $120,000 to $175,000. The range for Category 4A is $110,000 to $160,000. The changes to the salary for elected officials will not take effect until after the next relevant election, and the changes to the salary ranges for the appointed positions will take effect on August 1st, 2022. We held a hearing on this proposed ordinance, and the Committee on Government Operations reviewed the provisions of the proposal and the current applicable laws that govern the mechanism for salary for the mayor and the city council. The applicable laws are the city charter and state law, Chapter 39, Section 6A, which provide that the mayor shall be paid an annual salary that is fixed by ordinance. The following individuals represented the administration at the hearing that we had: Chief Alex Lawrence, People Officer; Yusufi Valley, Deputy Chief of Staff from the Mayor's Office; John Tobin, Chair of the Compensation Advisory Board, or CAB, which you'll hear me refer to; and Joanne Wisniewski. Joanne, I hope I got that pronunciation right. Chief Human Resources Officer and HR Transformation Lead. I was also joined by my colleagues, Councilors Bach, Braden, Coletta, Fernandes Anderson, Flaherty, Lara, Mejia, Murphy, and Worrell. I think I got everyone. Chair Tobin explained, Chair Tobin, who's the chair of CAB, explained that the city commissioned Deloitte to study compensation for appointed positions and other high-level, not-ordinance positions. Deloitte issued a report with recommendations, and CAB approved the recommendations. The report recommended salary range adjustments of 15% to 30% for select ordinance titles. The CAB also recommended increasing the salary of the mayor and the city council by 11% based upon cost of living adjustments since 2018. No other factors were considered in the recommended salary for the mayor and city council in the report produced by Deloitte, even though under CAB there's a requirement to analyze and study salary increases and not just do a cost of living adjustment. Administration officials explained the methodologies that were used in examining the salary ranges for the appointed positions. The city compared Boston's current pay ranges and actual base salaries for fiscal year 2021 and 2022 to other comparable positions among public sector employees around the country. The city completed a personnel compensation study using salary survey and analysis and comparable locality analysis based upon straight compensation. And based upon these findings, again, the range was 15% to 30%. The committee inquired about the compensation review for the mayor and city council and the methodology and benchmarks that were used. The committee asked if there was an analysis of city council and mayor compensation with cities comparable to Boston. Councilor Louis Jean, myself, presented reports that contained data which compared nationwide councilor compensation with cost of living in comparable cities. This was an important exercise because we felt like analysis was important, so it's research that my office undertook. And based upon these reports, the salary for city council in Boston should be higher than the recommendation. Former city councilor Tito Jackson also offered testimony. Former councilor Jackson stated that salaries should be studied across the board for both bargain for positions, non-union positions, and elected officials. He referred to a 2016 Pew Research Center study that examined salaries of elected officials. He referenced the city councils in Philadelphia, Baltimore, Chicago, and Washington, D.C. The committee discussed salaries from other cities and stated that Boston should be on par with other cities. The committee asked Councilor Jackson for his opinion on what the Boston City Councilor salary range should be, and he stated that it should probably be somewhere between $120,000 and $130,000. By frame of reference, Washington, D.C., a city with a similar population, where they also have the average rent of around $3,200 for a two-bedroom apartment, which is the same for the city of Boston. Their city council is paid $141,000 approximately. For Seattle, with a population of just over 700,000, where the average rent is $2,810, the city council is paid $136,000. And Minneapolis, they're paid the same as Boston City Council at $103,500, but the average for a two-bedroom is half of that of Boston, that is at $1,720. And just for the record, City of Boston, an average two-bedroom is $3,360. Docket, we proposed amendments to this docket. Docket number 0920 is amended in section 2 by striking the words $115,000 and replacing it with the words $125,000. Docket number 0920 is amended in section 1 by striking the words $230,000 and replacing it with the words $250,000. Increasing the salary ranges for certain appointed positions will ensure that the city has competitive benefits to attract and retain the most talented and diverse employees while recognizing the cost of living in the city and what comparable positions make in the public sector. That's something the administration reiterated time and time again, is that we need to be competitive with other cities. And the way that we get there is by being able to offer attractive salaries. The recommendations for the city council, again, were initially solely based on the cost of living, and there was no comparable compensation reviews for the city council with peer cities, and salary recommendations should be data-driven, which is, again, why my office undertook that data-intensive process of seeing what other cities were doing. Based upon reports that were presented at the hearing that analyzed nationwide councilor compensation, I make these recommendations, and I will follow what usually happens. The mayor's salary will be double of that, $250,000. And so I recommend that this docket pass. I just want to reiterate that in conversation that we've had and in the hearing, everyone expressed, all of my colleagues expressed how we support increasing the base wage of all of our municipal employees, especially our lowest paid employees. One job should be enough for everyone, whether you work for the city of Boston or whether you work in a cafeteria, like my father, who is 73 years old, working in a cafeteria and has yet to retire. And I know that that is a story that's shared by many of us here on the city council and a lot of our parents. And so while we talk about appointed positions and about our salaries, we stand in solidarity with everyone in the city of Boston, especially who our city of Boston employees who are required to live here. We really support increasing their base wages, whatever the process may be, whether it's through collective bargaining or whatever processes. We hope that the administration will take note of the fact that there's solidarity here on the Boston City Council. Second point, I just want to reiterate that the increase in salaries is just to bring us up to par with our peer cities across the country. And that third, even though there's some debate as to when this could, under the law, take effect, just out of an abundance of caution and to make sure that we do this the right way, this wouldn't go into effect until January 2024, until everyone here has undergone re-election, if they so choose. And so this would not affect current city council or mayor salaries. It would go into effect after the next election cycle for both us and the mayor. And so thank you. I recommend, as chair of government operations, I recommend that this docket ought to pass as amended. Thank you, President Flynn.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
The chair recognizes Councillor Flynn. Councillor Flynn, you have the floor.
Thank you, Councillor Braden. Thank you, Councillor Louis-Jean, for your important leadership on this issue and for the way you've engaged this body in working closely with the administration. As we know, with a significant increase cost of living, the Boston Compensation Advisory Board has conducted an extensive analysis of these salaries for elected officials, for cabinet chiefs, in comparison to other cities. This is an effort to retain and attract talented employees in what is an extremely competitive job market. What the chair recommends is a salary that is in line with salaries of other similar-sized cities, which I believe is an appropriate figure, given the cost of living and housing, the nature of the job. It would give us a competitive salary that would allow the city to attract and retain talent. I also want to acknowledge that it has been a difficult year for City Council, for the residents, for many city families, city employees and their families as we dealt with this pandemic in many changing dynamics. I also want to acknowledge the hard work of my colleagues, their staff, the City Council Central staff, and city workers who are making much less than city councilors and department heads that are the foundation of our workforce. They are the ones on the ground. They too deserve better pay, and I think we all are in agreement about that. These workers include custodians, teachers, human service providers, our emergency responders, people that serve the food in cafeterias, and thousands of others. In the end, we work best when we work together. And I look forward to working closely with the chair, with my council colleagues, with the mayor, and our city workers and residents on making sure Boston is moving forward in the right direction. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Councilor Louis-Jean seeks acceptance of the committee report and passage of docket 0920 and a new draft. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Mr. Clerk, could we do a roll call vote, please?
Roll call vote on docket number 0920. Councilor Arroyo.
Yes.
Councilor Arroyo, yes. Councilor Baker.
Aye.
Councilor Baker, aye. Councilor Bach.
Yes.
Councilor Bach, yes. Councilor Braden.
Yes.
Councilor Braden, yes. Councilor Coletta.
Yes.
Councilor Coletta, yes. Councilor Fernandez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilor Fernandez Anderson, yes. Councilor Flaherty.
Yes.
Councilor Flaherty, yes. Councilor Flynn.
Yes.
Councilor Flynn, yes. Councilor Lara.
Yes.
Councilor Lara, yes. Councilor Louis-Jean.
Yes.
Councilor Louis-Jean, yes. Councilor Mejia. Councilor Mejia, yes. Councilor Murphy.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy, yes. And Councilor Worrell.
Yes.
Councilor Worrell, yes. Receive a unanimous vote.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We're on to motions, orders, and resolutions. Mr. Clerk, please read docket 1214, please.
Docket number 1214, Councilor Louis-Jean offered the following. Ordinance and text amendment to the Boston zoning code with respect to honeybees.
The chair recognizes Councilor Louis-Jean. You have the floor.
And I'd like to suspend Rule 12 and add Councilor Ricardo Arroyo and Councilor Kenzie Bach as original co-sponsors.
Hearing no objection, both councilors are added. The chair recognizes Councilor Louis-Jean.
Thank you. So I rise to talk about something very different. I rise to talk about honeybees today. And I want to first say thank you to residents in Hyde Park, Val, Jim, and Sheila, who really brought this to my attention, and working alongside State Representative Rob Consalvo about how complex, unnecessarily complex, our zoning code is. So I want to not only give a shout out to Val, but I also want to show the honey that she gave me as a result of her beekeeping. And if all of my councilor colleagues will look under your desk, there's some honey for you too. No, just kidding, just kidding. Next time when we have a hearing, I'll make sure that you get honey and you get honey and you, next time. We can all share this, put it in your tea. Okay. But it's really great honey, and I just want to make sure that folks know that there are people and institutions here in the city of Boston that are beekeeping, and we need to make it easier for them to do that. So Val is an incredible woman who lives in Hyde Park, an incredible black woman who comes from a long tradition of family who are beekeepers, stemming all the way back to South Africa. She has a really great story that hopefully you all will hear soon. But our zoning code makes it really incredibly difficult for people to know what the rules are when it comes to following how they can legally and permissibly keep bees in the city. So honeybees play a critical role in our food system. They pollinate over 85 different crops and contribute to 35% of the global food production. Honeybees contribute to the greater biodiversity within urban cities like Boston by supporting and strengthening plant and tree growth through pollination. Honeybees are also indicator species, where they provide critical information on the health and habitat of our environment, and beekeeping results in a decrease in pollution as their pollination contributes to keeping waterways clean, preventing soil erosion, encouraging plant growth and oxygen production and absorption, and absorbing CO2. Many residents in Boston and businesses in Boston are already hosting beehives on their rooftops and backyards as local interest in beekeeping increased during the pandemic. I went out to some of the beekeeping, some of our residents who beekeep, and got to put on the gear and really experience what it takes to beekeep, and the incredible dedication that our beekeepers have to not only themselves and their interest in beekeeping, but really, as I said, how they contribute to our environment. Bees have been rapidly and mysteriously disappearing from rural areas, and this has grave implications on our agriculture. But bees seem to flourish in environments like Boston, and a new study suggests that urban beekeeping might play a role in supporting both a city and species, whereby city environments can provide alternative spaces for honeybees to maintain healthy habitats as they have access to protected areas. So why is this in zoning at all? That is essentially the question that we had, because early on in the process of trying to create this ordinance, we explored different ways to make it easier to keep bees in Boston. But due to the unwieldy and ponderous nature of the zoning code, every fix unintentionally had a ripple effect that we didn't intend. And so my office has been working on this for quite some time. And after a lot of back and forth with the BPDA, we found that even if we changed all of Boston from it being a forbidden use, because right now beekeeping under the code is forbidden in most of the city, with some pockets of areas where there's conditional use and some pockets where it's allowable. But they would still have to go before the Zoning Board of Appeals for relief if they wanted to change it for their neighborhood to conditional or allowable. And we felt that this was still too high of a bar for our residents. And if we change the zoning to allow beekeeping as of right, then there wasn't much use for it to being in the zoning code at all. So coming to that conclusion, what we've done here is a text amendment to the zoning code to take beekeeping out of zoning and put it into a municipal ordinance with the same requirements of height, distance from the street, number of hives that you can keep. Under this, you'll be able, residents can keep up to 3 hives pursuant, as long as they follow the other requirements. And we thought it would be best controlled by either animal control or ISD, but we're also open to having this conversation to see what's best on the city level. So moving from the zoning code to municipal code will require a bifurcated process where we first take it out of zoning. And so we're gonna have a hearing on that, but will also require us to petition the zoning commission for a text amendment. The regulations we propose in the ordinance are the same, I think I just said this, are as those in Article 89, setbacks, distance from neighbors and windows. And so if anybody needed a particular exemption, this would be easier because either animal control or ISD could give them an exception, for example, of number of hives or setback from the street. And so this is just creating a new pathway to keeping bees that would be clear and simplified for the average beekeeper in this city. People want to comply, and it's just been too hard. So this is basically trying to make it easier for folks to comply with the law. And we know that there are so many problems with the zoning code, so this is just one fix that we're trying to make based on constituents coming to our office and seeing how we can work together. So thank you. And I'll have honey for y'all next time.
Thank you, Councilor Ouijan. The chair recognizes Councilor Arroyo. Councilor Arroyo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Councilor Flynn. I want to thank Councilor Louis-Jen for her service in bringing this forward and all of her hard work in bringing this forward. She made many of the key points, so I won't belabor those points, but I will just say that I'm grateful to those in my district who are doing this work. The bee population, if you just Google bee population, you're going to find a number of alarming articles on this. I actually am a huge connoisseur of honey for a long time, and so I've been aware of the declining population that has had real impacts on environment as well as supply and demand and other sort of adjacent impacts on our food supply in the country as a whole. And so for the folks that are sort of pushing back on that by doing their part individually to create more resilient bees and to keep bees, I think that's fantastic. And putting it in a process that allows for more people to have access to it without going through the ZBA, I think makes a lot more sense. And so I'm grateful to Councilor Louis Jen, for her advocacy on this and her lifting this up. I think this is something good for the city, as well as the overall impact on bees and the bee population that we are seeing in this country and worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Arroyo. The chair recognizes Councilor Bork. Councilor Bork, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. And like Councilor Arroyo, I want to thank Councilor Louis Jen for including me on this and for all the amazing work that her office has been doing to get us to this point of filing. The way I see this is that, bees really are a common good. They're critical to our ecosystem. They're key pollinators. And the reality is that, it's not enough to just have them. The population's collapsing, as Councilor Arroyo said, and even though we've got some amazing beehives popping up in some of Boston's public or semi-public spaces, like I just opened an apiary in the Fenway Victory Gardens in my district. There are beehives up in Kevin Fitzgerald Park in Mission Hill. But the reality is, much like when we talk about tree cover in the city and we say, hey, we can't just do it with trees on the public land, we need trees to be on private land too. If we're going to really have the key ecosystem benefits that we have from bees, they have to also be at people's private residences who want to keep them. And the reality is that when there's something like that serves a common good that we want our private residents to be participating in, we have to make it easier, not harder. And the dynamic today is that deciding to, put a beehive on your property is kind of like deciding to add an addition to your house. And I think that we want to shift it, and what Councilor Louis Jen has really recommended here is that we shift it into being more like wanting to have a dog and going to get it licensed, right? And that there be definite rules and regs, and we're going to go through the ordinance process to kick the tires of the ones that already exist. But the fact that those regs have been in the zoning code has just discouraged too many of our residents. And frankly, we should hope that many more residents than even the ones in Hyde Park who really brought this issue to the fore are actively trying to keep bees in the city, because the benefits to the whole ecosystem are manifest. So I'm looking forward to working on this with Councilor Louis Jen and Councilor Arroyo and the whole council, and hope everyone will sign on and support. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Bork. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? The chair recognizes City Councilor Coletta. Councilor Coletta, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President Flynn. I just want to thank the maker and co-sponsors for putting this forward. I love when politics and pollination collide, so this is great. Not only is this a feel-good piece of legislation, it's also incredibly savvy. You were able to take it out of the zoning code and put it in municipal code, which is just a good example of good government and having it work better for residents. So this was incredibly smart, an incredibly smart move of you. And so I just want to thank you, and I look forward to the hearing and leading into this work with you. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Coletta. Anyone else like to speak on this matter or sign on if you raise your hand? When I was young, there was a youth group in Charlestown, and they were called the Honeybees. That's who I thought originally was going to be here. I thought they were going to sing or dance for us, but we're talking about the real bees. So, Mr. Clerk, please add Councilor Baker, Councilor Braden, Councilor Coletta, Councilor Anderson, Councilor Flaherty, Councilor Lara, Councilor Mejia, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Worrell, and please add the chair. Docket 1214 will be referred to the Committee on Government Operations and the Committee on Planning, Development, and Transportation jointly. We discussed this matter before the meeting. We generally only keep a matter in one committee, but there's always an exception, so we thought it would be best to have it in the Government Operations and the Committee on Planning, Development, and Transportation jointly. Thank you, Councilor Louis Jen. The chair recognizes Councilor Murphy. Oh, okay. Mr. Clerk, can you please read docket 1215, please?
Docket number 1215, Councilor Murphy offered the following: an ordinance amending City Council electoral districts.
Thank you. As chair, I would like to limit the discussion on this docket to the sponsors, as this matter is connected to redistricting process that is already in discussion. I ask that we defer a discussion on this matter to future redistricting hearings and working sessions. as we have done in the past. The chair recognizes Councilor Murphy. Councilor Murphy, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President Flynn. Every 10 years, the council goes through redistricting, which is the process of drawing the lines of the Boston City Council districts from which public officials are elected. Once completed, it accurately reflects population changes in racial diversity from this time, the 2020 U.S. Census. As an at-large city councilor, I represent all 680,000 residents in the city of Boston, all 9 council districts with more than 25 diverse, vibrant neighborhoods. I was born at St. Margaret's Hospital on Jones Hill in 1970, and I have seen how the city has changed over the past 5 decades. Growing up and raising my family here, I have a strong understanding of the community of interest throughout the districts, like Fields Corner, now known as Little Saigon, Mattapan, Jamaica Plain, and the Catholic parishes throughout the city, just to name a few. I put the time and effort into representing a map to this body that follows the criteria of the Committee of Redistricting and stays true to the Voting Rights Act of 1965. In the shared folder I sent to all my colleagues last week, along with a handout, I included an overview map of the city and a breakdown of the population and racial demographics of each district's wards and precincts. I look forward to the upcoming working sessions and hearings the Chair and Vice Chair of Redistricting will host in the forthcoming weeks, so this body can finalize a cohesive map with the support from constituents with public testimony at these hearings. Thank you, President Flynn.
Thank you, Councilor Murphy. Would anyone like to add their name? Please raise your hand. Mr. Clerk, please add the chair. Please add Councilor Baker. Docket 1215 will refer to the Committee on Redistricting. Mr. Clerk, please read docket 1216, please.
Docket number 1216. Councilors Braden and Worrell offer the following: an ordinance amending city council electoral districts.
Thank you. As Chair, I'd like to limit the discussion on this docket to the sponsors, as this matter is connected to the redistricting process that is already in discussion. As that we defer further discussion on this matter to future redistricting hearings and working sessions. The Chair recognizes Councilor Braden. Councilor Braden, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also want to thank all councillors in attendance and particularly central staff for last Thursday evening's Committee on Redistricting public hearing on redistricting principles. Redistricting materials are continuously being updated at the committee website at boston.gov/redistricting, including a link to watch the hearing recordings. The hearing was dedicated to receiving community testimony in order to inform a proposed redistricting plan submitted by the Chair and Vice Chair. In particular, we have sought the testimony of community leaders who have been directly involved in civil rights, voting rights and redistricting efforts throughout our city's history. Several themes arose from public testimony, including residents urging the committee to consider historic neighbourhood identities along with the context of building up political power over time, the need to focus on neighbourhoods with residents of protected classes under the Voting Rights Act who are split among or on the margins of current districts, the need to be cognizant of maintaining the proportion of minority residents within existing majority-minority districts so as to not dilute their voting power, consideration of strengthening existing and identifying new opportunity districts, and transparency and access to live-streamed and recorded committee proceedings, and ensuring a thorough community engagement process ahead. Our proposed ordinance is just that, one proposal of several intended to be a reflection and culmination of councillor deliberation during committee working sessions and public testimony received. Our redistricting plan makes a total of 18 precinct reassignments between districts, compared to the current and baseline City Council district boundaries. These changes result in the equalisation of District 2's population while maintaining the Ward 8 Precinct 1 Cathedral and Ward 9 Precinct 1 Villa Victoria South End precincts with significant Chinese immigrant populations in one district with a Chinatown core. Keeping these communities unified is important because in the ruling of the 1985 redistricting case Latino Political Action Committee versus City of Boston, the court recognized the Boston Latino and Asian communities were interspersed and could not constitute a majority in any district. The court also reported evidence which suggests that the minority population of the South End and Chinatown is capable of exerting considerable political influence within the district, and noted the community's ability to swing elections in the margin of victory, which President Flynn is familiar with from his recent 2017 election. The most significant change in our proposal is shifting 8 precincts along the boundary between District 3 and 4, proposed on the basis of the Voting Rights Act considerations. The same Boston Redistricting Court ruling considered the balance between cracking and packing in respect to an effective majority of minority districts. The minority population of at least 65% in a single member district is necessary to give minority voters a reasonable opportunity to elect a candidate of their choice. While 65% was the total population goal, 60% has been the aim of the voting age population to reach an effective majority. In 2010, District 3 had 62.3 total minority population and a 58.3 voting age minority population. In 2020, District 3 had 61.8% total minority population and 58.5 voting age minority population. Our proposal, District 3 would have 64.9 total minority population and 61.5 voting age minority. This is a 3% bump in both total population and voting age population, making District 3 the 4th truly minority opportunity district by voting age. We absolutely recognise that the proposal would be disruptive to the lives of community members, but that it would also make the greatest difference toward ensuring that all residents of colour across our city have a fair opportunity to elect candidates of their choice. Among the proposals, this plan would also have the least amount of minority residents affected by their voting precinct changing districts. If passed, this is something the committee, the council and the city could be proud of achieving after 40 years of district representation on this body, while still ensuring 2 Dorchester-based district seats for the largest neighbourhood in our city. We still have a community process ahead of us, and I look forward to working with our colleagues and hearing directly from residents in our communities. There is still room for adjustment and incorporation of suggested revisions. This is the starting point, and I look forward to continuing this conversation with my colleagues and community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Braden. The chair recognizes Councillor Worrell. Councillor Worrell, you have the floor.
Thank you, President Flynn, and thank you, Councilor Braden, and Central staff and our teams for all their work in this process. This map was built on the input of community leaders, activists, and councilors. This map, which is still open to feedback, is an approach that strengthens and maintains opportunity districts. Following the principles of the Voting Rights Act, we were able to create 4 districts that are majority people of color with a strong voting age population. I value the level of engagement from the councilors and our constituents in this process. And just looking ahead, these are tentative dates to hold evening public hearings in Dorchester, Mattapan, or Roxbury. So we're looking at Monday 10/17, Thursday 10/20, or Monday 10/24. We look forward as a committee to continuing this collaborative effort in order to create fair and equitable maps for our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Worrell. Would anyone like to add their name to this? Please raise your hand. Mr. Clerk, please add the chair. Docket 1216 will be referred to the Committee on Redistricting. Mr. Clerk, please read docket 1217.
Docket number 1217, Councilors Lara and Flaherty offer the following. Petition for a special law relative to an act to restore Boston's governmentally involved housing protection.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Lara. Councilor Lara, you have the floor.
Thank you, President Flynn. I would like to suspend Rule 12 and add Councilor Kenzie Bach as our third original co-sponsor, please.
Hearing no objection, Councilor Bach is ordered. The chair recognizes Councilor Lara.
Thank you, President Flynn. This home rule petition was passed by the City Council last year during Mayor Janey's tenure, and I am hoping that today we can do the same thing that we did last year and suspend and pass it so we can get this much-needed legislation back to the State House before our next session. Last year, this home rule petition was sponsored by my council colleagues Michael Flaherty and Kenzie Bach. And it is regarding expiring use properties. So expiring use properties are really an issue that impact thousands of currently affordable units in the city of Boston. We know that our affordable housing supply needs to grow, not shrink in the city, and therefore preserving our existing stock is going to be an essential step that we need to take. We've met with advocates who've pushed the city and state levels to ensure that such reforms as this home rule petition pass. In Councilor Braden's district, for example, we have the Babcock Towers in Alston, and in my district, we have been working closely with the advocates around the Forbes building. Essentially, these buildings, once set aside, have been zoned for affordable housing, and when that timeline ends, the owners are able to take them off the market as affordable housing and make them market rate housing. As of 2021, there are 30,435 privately owned subsidized apartments in Boston, and close to 2,000 of those have been converted to high market rents. According to an April 2021 report by the Community Economic Development Assistance Corporation, 928 apartments in Boston are at risk of conversion to market rate by 2022, which includes the Forbes building in Jamaica Plain and the Babcock Towers in Brighton, like I mentioned. Last year, the owner of the Forbes building announced that they plan to convert 147 apartments that are affordable to low-income seniors and disabled tenants into market rate housing, putting the tenants and the entire community at risk for displacement. So I would like to cede my time to Councilor Flaherty and Councilor Bach to talk more about the importance of this home rule petition. But like I mentioned, the council last year suspended and passed this home rule petition and sent it up. And I think that my hope is that we can do the same thing today and ensure that we can get it up to the State House before the next legislative session begins. I've already been in conversation with our possible incoming state representatives and state senators to sponsor it at the State House and make sure that we can move it along as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Lara. The chair recognizes Councilor Flaherty. Councilor Flaherty, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank the lead sponsor for the opportunity to partner with her and our colleague, Councilor Bach, and our colleagues here. It is incumbent that the city preserve its affordable housing stock, and according to former Mayor Marty Walsh's Housing, a Changing City report, 3,038 apartments are at the risk of conversion into market rate housing within the next 10 years. That's a significant number. We also know that a number of them are in the city's highest priced neighborhoods where financial incentives are there for developers to convert to market rate. This home rule petition will help towards ensuring affordable housing and will take steps to allow the city to maintain units as affordable. And also, this body has always stood with residents of expiring use. As long as I've been here on the council, I can attest to that. We've also stood with the residents of the Forbes building as most recently as the last couple of years. So kudos to Michael Kane, who continues to advocate staunchly on their as well as other expiring use residents' behalf. There is a sense of urgency here, given that there'll be an event and a rally fairly soon in Jamaica Plain. So I concur with my colleague that we look to move suspension and adoption today so we can get this over to the residents, let them know that the Boston City Council stands with them in their efforts to protect their expiring use of affordable property and residents and homes. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Flaherty. The chair recognizes Councilor Bach. Councilor Bach, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, and thank you to Councilors Lara and Flaherty for filing this. As was mentioned, we filed this last year and sent it up to the State House. I think it's a very important thing for us to repeatedly send. The reality is that, expiring use affordable housing was a huge mistake in the sense of having it expire after 40 years. These are all properties that the public poured a ton of money into creating. So the idea that we've poured that money in, we've created real communities. In many cases, you've got seniors' families who have been there for many decades, and then the idea that we would just hit a deadline and suddenly those communities could all be uprooted in search of a higher dollar amount is just, it's unconscionable. And like I said, you really have to understand the history of these properties is public investment, and that shouldn't be privatized, and certainly not in ways that break our communities apart. When I was at the Boston Housing Authority, I was involved in the behind-the-scenes work both on Babcock Towers and Mercantile in Councillor Coletta's district, and we've just had again and again fire drills on this issue, and we're going to keep, the city of Boston, like Councillor Flaherty said, is always going to keep showing up for those fire drills and trying to figure out a way to extend these properties' affordability, put money in, work with the owners to recognize that they want to stay on the affordable path. But the reality is that we could, through state law, just change this crazy situation that we find ourselves in over and over. So I think, it makes sense for this body to consistently express to our partners at the state that that's something that we hope to see happen, and really important for all of our housed communities. So thank you.
The chair recognizes Councilor Louis Jean. Councilor Louis Jean, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just rising to say add my name, and I want to thank Council Lara and the co-sponsors for filing this in strong support that we hear all the time from our tenants, whether in the South End, residents either in the South End or Ford's Building or wherever, how these expiring use buildings, how it's just like all of a sudden their lives may be uprooted, and it's important that we continue to urge that we use our public dollars for public goods like maintaining secure housing for folks and making sure that income restricted housing is a reality that many of our residents need and are able to obtain. And if we have the buildings already, we should be doing everything to keep them that way. So just add my name, and thank you to the sponsors for filing this.
Thank you, Councilor Louis Jean. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter or to add their name? I would just like to add my support. I've worked with Sheila Dillon on this issue for 5 years. Many of these situations or examples have happened in the Chinatown neighborhood, but I think if you work closely with city officials, if you work closely with residents, advocate in making sure that our residents are treated with respect, that's what this is all about. So thank you to the sponsors. Please, Mr. Clerk, please add Councilor Arroyo, Councilor Baker, Councilor Braden, Councilor Coletta, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, Councilor Louis Jean, Councilor Mejia, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Worrell, and please add the chair. Councilors Lara, Flaherty, and Bach seek suspension of the rules and passage of this docket 1217. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Mr. Clerk, can we do a roll call vote?
Yes. Roll call vote on docket 1217. Councilor Arroyo.
Yes.
Councilor Arroyo, yes. Councilor Baker.
Yes.
Councilor Baker, yes. Councilor Bach.
Yes.
Councilor Bach, yes. Councilor Braden.
Yes.
Councilor Braden, yes. Councilor Coletta.
Yes.
Councilor Coletta, yes. Councilor Fernandez-Anderson.
Yes.
Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, yes. Councilor Flaherty.
Yes.
Councilor Flaherty, yes. Councilor Flynn.
Yes.
Councilor Flynn, yes. Councilor Lara. Councilor Lara, yes. Councilor Louis Jean.
Yes.
Councilor Louis Jean, yes. Councilor Mejia. Councilor Mejia, yes. Councilor Murphy.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy, yes. And Councilor Worrell.
Yes.
Councilor Worrell, yes. Docket number 1217 has received a unanimous vote.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you to Councilor Lara, Councilor Flaherty, and Councilor Bach.
Mr. Clerk, please read docket 1218.
Docket number 1218, Councilors Flynn and Flaherty offer the following. Order for a hearing to discuss the safety of light poles, bridges, and other public infrastructure in the city of Boston.
The chair recognizes Councillor Flynn. Councillor Flynn, you have the floor.
Thank you, Councilor
Oh, hang on. Get you plugged in there. Hang on.
Thank you, Council Brady. Thank you to Councilor Flaherty for partnering with me on this hearing. As you know, there was a recent accident at the Evelyn Moakley Bridge in the South Boston waterfront. After the incident, Public Works Department inspected all city bridges in the area and removed 23 of the light poles that were deemed not completely satisfactory, with 2 additional light poles already removed previously under different circumstances. It was reported that this site was inspected January 19, 2022, and a Mass Department of Transportation report coded the lighting standard 5 out of 9, or fair. However, this report, as well as media reports thereafter, also indicated that the pole was marked in the categories of deficiencies as S, or severe, major deficiency, and the urgency of repair categories as A for ASAP. This incident illustrates the need to ensure that our light poles, bridges, and other public infrastructures are safe and stable for our residents and visitors alike, especially as harsh weather, sea air, salt water can deteriorate the city's infrastructure. I had the opportunity, as many people know, to serve in the military, in the Navy, and I've seen the destruction salt water in the open air can have on infrastructure. As a coastal city with many bridges, and as a city with harsh New England weather, light poles and public infrastructure inevitably get corroded by, as I mentioned, salt water and the elements. And we need to ensure that they are safe, especially those that live near these areas. It is critical that the city be inspecting all of these light poles, bridges, and public infrastructures to make necessary repairs in a timely manner, in working our best with our state partners, federal partners, to ensure incidents like these don't happen again. But there's also a critical role for residents to play if you see a situation that could potentially be a hazard. Please contact 311 so it can be documented and the appropriate city officials can begin the process. But these quality of life issues, these city services are critical. I have great respect and confidence in our city officials, but we must make sure that our roads, our bridges, our poles that we rely on are safe for everybody, whether it's in the South Boston waterfront, whether it's in Mattapan, whether it's in Dorchester or East Boston. These quality of life issues are critical. Thank you, Councillor Flaherty, for partnering with me.
Thank you, Councillor Flynn. Councillor Flaherty, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, lead sponsor, for approving it. Shortly after that incident on September 27th, Council President Flynn and I have gone down to the Evelyn Moakley Bridge on the South Boston waterfront. We are so lucky that pedestrian was not killed, and so our thoughts and prayers for a speedy recovery. But it also underscores, as Council President had alluded to, that our light poles, bridges, and other public infrastructure need to be routinely inspected, repaired, and replaced. One, he mentioned harsh weather. 2, salt air and salt conditions. But we're also an old city. We've got old bones. We've got old infrastructure. It's why when there's water main breaks in your respective districts, they're arguably almost catastrophic, right, in terms of just the volume and the amount of folks and residences and businesses that get impacted. We also know about the gas leaks that are in our city. So this is maybe an opportunity for us to reset the button, clearly on our roads and our bridges and our light poles and our infrastructure. But we really got to take a long, hard look at our gas lines and our water lines to make sure that we're making the necessary upgrades. We should not be waiting for a major water main break. We should not be waiting for more gas leaks. We should be addressing these issues on sort of on a methodical and regular basis as our city grows and we invite new businesses here and we're inviting new development here. We have to recognize that it's the old bones, it's the old underground that we're currently living with, and we have a responsibility as a legislative body to make sure that we're making the necessary infrastructure upgrades, repairs, and replacements repeatedly throughout the process. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Flaherty. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Councillor Coletta, you have the floor. Hang on.
Thank you, Councillor Braden, and I want to be sure to thank the makers. Please add my name. I want to thank you all for your oversight and push for greater accountability. This was a tragic occurrence that took place on this bridge, and I'm heartbroken for that woman and her family, and I'm wishing her a speedy recovery. As a councillor for a coastal district, this is deeply concerning for me and my constituents, and in this conversation, I'd like to be sure to loop in Massport. This is where a lot of light posts in my district reside. But I think just to make sure we get this on record, I think we all know our city workers and we know that they work hard on a daily basis, especially those who are out there in the elements, like folks that work for transportation and public works. And what happened here should not be a poor reflection on them, but rather a system that did not move fast enough to fix a deteriorating streetlight. We all know bureaucracy limits expeditious action sometimes. However, there should be some sort of way to work with the state and work with Massport to fix the repair process when imminent danger is identified. So I just want to commend the makers again, and I look forward to this hearing and identifying solutions moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coletta. Would anyone else like to add their name?
Madam Chair.
Oh, beg your pardon. Councillor Baker, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is well overdue. We have a couple questions to need to ask here. We're not looking to criticize the Public Works Department or the Lighting Department, but we do need some questions answered. If there's a report there that showed failing infrastructure, whose desk was it on? Did you read it? If you read it, how come there isn't any action on it? If you didn't read it, why didn't you read it, and why are you in that position there where you're not reading reports like that? So those are a couple questions that we need to answer. I would suggest that we bring this into the district. We bring this to District Hall down on the waterfront. I don't know where it's going to go, but we should talk to the chair about bringing this into that district there. It's a relatively new bridge. This shouldn't be happening. So some of my thoughts, and please add my name. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Would anyone else like to add their name? Councillor Baker, Councillor Bach, Councillor Coletta, Councillor Fernandez-Anderson, Councillor Lara, Councillor Louis-Jean, Councillor Mejia, Councillor Murphy, Councillor Worrell, Councillor Arroyo, and Councillor Braden. Docket 1218 will be referred to the Committee on City Services and Innovation Technology.
Thank you, Councilor Braden. Mr. Clerk, please read docket 1219.
Docket number 1219, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson offered the following. Order for a hearing regarding calling for a moratorium on all development on all city-owned land in District 7 prior to the request for proposal process.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez-Anderson. You have the floor.
Thank you, Council President Flynn. I'd like to suspend the rules and add Councilor Lara as original co-sponsor.
Councilor Lara is added. The chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez-Anderson.
Thank you so much. The people of District 7 are tired of decades of unsatisfying development policies that have marginalized them for the levers of decision making. Our district is predominantly black and brown and working class district that has seen the political and economic elites sideline them from positions of power. Rather, development projects are invariably presented to community members after this decision has been made or to what nature that development will be. The status quo is absolutely unacceptable as it severely limits the limit of community members of fundamentally determine what will be built and will not be built in the communities. The land is ours. It's the communities. This is our community, and our collective voices should be the core component of what results we have. People are feasting at our expense and throwing us at a few crumbs to rationalize their endeavors. And the people are saying we need to cook the food because food is ours. Don't take our food. Toss us a few samples and say that the legitimate development process has occurred. Why do I say it this way, or do I speak this way? Because we in District 7, particularly in Roxbury, have been inundated with low-income rentals. In fact, 54% of all the housing units in Roxbury are income restricted, compared to 19.2% for the city as a whole. That is astounding. That means that there are nearly 3 times the percentage of income-restricted rentals in Roxbury than there is in the rest of Boston. Which begs the question, where then should low-income rental housing be built from now on? Surely not in a neighborhood that already has 3 times as much as the rest of the city. Let's look a bit deeper at some of the other neighborhoods in Boston and the percentage of low-income rental housing. 6% of Back Bay's housing is income restricted. 6% of Bay Village housing is income restricted. 6% of Beacon Hills housing is income restricted. 6% of North End housing is income restricted. 7% of Hyde Park housing is income restricted. 8% of South Boston waterfront housing is income restricted. Let's build some low-income housing in those neighborhoods. Roxbury has 9 times more affordable housing, more affordable rentals by percentage than 4 of these communities. I would say if a neighborhood's got 9 times as much as anything, as another neighborhood has, we should look into our distribution system a bit. 75% of Roxbury's residents are renters, and 48% of those renters are low-income rentals. Poverty, essentially, is concentrated in Roxbury and done intentionally. If it's not, then we should take a look at it. As a condition of living in low-income housing, you must remain impoverished, or your rent will go up significantly, or you will be evicted. Connected to this concentration, the average Roxbury resident earns $34,000 a year, less than half of the average wage, $71,000 for Boston resident as a whole. There is no denying that low-income rental housing is needed. Again, I repeat, there is no denying that low-income rental housing is needed in our city, but it is not needed in Roxbury, when Roxbury already has such housing at nearly 3 times the rate of the rest of the city. Let such housing be built in the wealthier and less dense areas of Boston. And what do we need in District 7, you ask? We need opportunities for affordable home ownership that will allow people to build generational wealth and live in high-quality, dignifying housing. Of the 56,695 total restricted income units in Boston, 53,898 are said units of rentals. The breakdown, 95% of affordable housing are rentals, and only 5% are owner-occupied. Put it another way, for every 20 affordable homes in Boston, 19 are rentals and 1 is owned. So let's strengthen the ratio out, especially in Roxbury. What else do we need? We need open spaces. We need to utilize the dozens of parcels that are currently lie vacant and activate them for arts, culture, space, recreation, entertainment, urban gardens, playground, trees, and more. And how do we get this? We get this by saying no more to the current process of development. Therefore, we are calling for a moratorium to all development on city-owned land in District 7 prior to request of proposal project. It is time for fair and equitable development that centers the voices and views of those who, for too long in our supposedly progressive city, have been marginalized, oppressed, and disenfranchised. The time for change is now, and on behalf of the District 7 Advisory Council, which is comprised of all of the civic engagement chairs or civic association boards, and on behalf of the constituents who have been fighting and pleading and chasing these meetings, sometimes double booked in one evening, on behalf of all of the people in Roxbury that have for too long have been advocated and been ignored, I am asking the city and my council colleagues to support me in this conversation. I look forward to discussing it and seeing what we can be done about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez Anderson. The chair recognizes Councilor Lara. Councilor Lara, you have the floor.
Thank you, President Flynn, and thank you to Councilor Fernandez Anderson for offering this hearing. I want to first say that Councilor Fernandez Anderson and I have had healthy conversations and disagreements on how the best way to do this is. But I think that ultimately, I have been, since I ran for office and during my tenure here on the City Council, been an advocate for deepening our democratic process beyond the ballot box. And what that looks like is ensuring that we are involving our neighbors and the community members within our districts and our constituents in the process of making decisions about what their neighborhoods look like beyond just election day. Right now, for decades, as a member of the community and people who have been here on the council, have heard from our neighbors that the development process oftentimes leaves community voice and community input until the last minute. And by the time that they're presenting proposals in front of us, ultimately some of the key decisions have already been made. And so what this hearing order and this conversation is ultimately presenting to us are two things, two requests. The first request is that the people of District 7 and the people of Roxbury want an opportunity to develop a transformative vision for how the city-owned land is used in their neighborhood. They want to be able to have conversations with the people who live there about what they want there, what is going to best serve their needs, and how to best make that happen, and put a proposal in front of the city. And we're unable to do that if we're continuing to move forward with the process as it currently stands. The second thing that this hearing order is posing for us is to think about how, in our attempt to ensure that people have the right to stay in their neighborhoods and that they can afford to stay in their neighborhoods, are we continuing the legacy of building more segregated neighborhoods by overly concentrating them in one neighborhood? And so I'm happy to have this conversation with Councilor Fernandez Anderson and the District 7 advisory group. Although I only represent one precinct in Roxbury, it is my home neighborhood of Eggleston Square, and I'm happy to partner with Councilor Anderson in this conversation so that we can help the people of Roxbury and District 7 bring their collective vision for their neighborhood, not only to the City Council, but to the Mayor as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Lara. The chair recognizes Councilor Mejia. Councilor Mejia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to my sisters in service for bringing this here to the council. I am encouraged. And while we are focusing on D7, when I think about the work that we've been doing across the city in terms of planning and development, it always is an afterthought in terms of community. And you already know I always talk about nothing about us, without us, is for us. And what ends up happening is that people come into our neighborhoods, present us plans, and then we have to decide whether or not we like them. We have to reverse the cycle in which we do this work. And I think centering it in community is really what this work is all about. And my hope is, as we continue to have this conversation, that we can learn from D7 and create a blueprint for what it's going to look like across the city. Because otherwise we're going to end up in a situation where in 10 years from now, there will be no people of color. And when we're having a conversation about redistricting, then what? So I think it's really important for us to get ahead of this conversation and think about this concept across the entire city of Boston. But I do recognize that D7 has been deeply impacted, but I also see pockets of Dorchester who have also suffered from this as well. So looking forward to the conversation, and please add my name. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. The chair recognizes Councilor Flaherty. Councilor Flaherty, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. It sort of helps, this order helps harken back to when we were in the process of creating and permitting the South Boston waterfront. The South Boston community, through its elected and civic leaders, fought the Menino administration and the BRA vigorously for more affordable housing, for more inclusionary zoning, for a public school, a public library, a police, fire, and/or EMS depot, in addition to open space. and were rebuffed at every single turn by both the Menino administration and the BRA. So you're down there now, it's in the South Boston waterfront, but yet you almost kind of feel like you're in New York. Huge missed opportunity. There were some good things happening down there, but it could have been more inclusive. We could have had more affordable housing, should have had more affordable housing. The mitigation funds, the linkage, was taken out of there, and instead of putting affordable units and, again, a public school, a public library, et cetera, were taken in, and where a lot of development took place in District 7 and or other districts across the city and the community, the South Boston community, always wanted to make sure that there was enough affordable housing. They wanted there to have an opportunity to live down there, and we also wanted it to make sure it was a fabric of the neighborhood and a great addition to the city. So while you see a lot of buildings, you got companies moving in down there, there's lots of job opportunity. We also wanted a STEM job training program down there as well, because we knew what would be coming there. We knew the companies and CEOs would be moving their companies down there to be where the brain power is, to be where the colleges, universities, and the hospitals are. So again, looking back at at overall the missed opportunity, but the South Boston community, through his electeds and civics, fought hard. And so I sympathize. Please add my name. Look forward to an expedited hearing and a discussion. It's the residents, it's the neighbors, it's the folks that have made Roxbury District 7 the great neighborhood that it is. They should have some more say in what's happening. And I'm a testament to having been in those meetings and having been in those fights, and only to have an administration and a BRA ignore the requests and the pleas from the community, from the electeds and civics, to create more affordable housing down there. And to this day, that's probably the Achilles heel. Everyone talks about the South Boston waterfront and talks about lots of the activity down there, but you don't feel it doesn't have that neighborhood, homegrown feeling that it would if there were more inclusionary zoning, more affordable housing, a public library, a public school, et cetera. So please add my name, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Flaherty, and I would echo what you said, Councilor Flaherty. But I want to say to Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, I had the opportunity to join you in District 7 in your advisory group on a Saturday morning, I believe, and it was an excellent discussion about this issue and other issues as well. But it was a group of dedicated neighbors of yours that really are concerned about the future of the neighborhood. So just want to say thank you to the important work you're doing, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson. Would anyone else like to speak on this matter, or raise your hand if you want to sign on to it? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilor Braden. Please add Councilor Louis-Jean, Councilor Mejia, Councilor Flaherty, Councilor Worrell, Council President. Anyone else? Did I miss anybody? Okay. Docket 1219 will be referred to the Committee on Planning, Development, and Transportation. Mr. Clerk, please read docket 1220, please.
Docket number 1220, Councilors Murphy and Fernandez-Anderson offer the following. Resolution to modify the name of the Justice Edward O. Gordin Veterans Memorial Park in Roxbury.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez-Anderson. Councilor Fernandez-Anderson. I'm sorry. The chair recognizes Councilor Murphy. Councilor Murphy, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. And the Justice Edward O. Gordin Veterans Memorial Park, formerly Dudley Park, is a community-initiated project in Roxbury made to honor Brigadier General Edward O. Gordin, an African-American veteran in the Roxbury neighborhood. The local 272 Field Artillery Battalion Veterans Association suggested dedicating the park to Brigadier General Edward O. Gordin because of his closely connected history with Roxbury. His accomplishments include being the first black judge appointed to the Roxbury District Court, the first black person in New England appointed to the Massachusetts Supreme Court, a silver medalist for the United States at the 1924 Paris Olympics, and the first man in history to break 25 feet in the long jump. This proposed modification seeks to have the city's Parks and Recreation Commission vote to change justice to general and to add African American in the park's name so that the park will be known as the General Edward O. Gourdine African American Veterans Memorial Park. A modification would better reflect the park's goal to honor veterans of African descent, Gourdine's military legacy, in the culture in the Roxbury community. The modification is personally pursued by grandchildren, family, veterans, and friends of the park. Some who are here with us today, thank you for coming and staying through this meeting, who have worked tirelessly for the park's completion, achieving many significant milestones and participating in numerous community meetings and public meeting hearings for over a decade. Thank you to all for your advocacy and your work on this important community park, and thank you, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, for co-sponsoring this resolution with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Murphy. The chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez-Anderson. Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. I'm very happy to co-sponsor this resolution with my colleague, Councilor Aaron Murphy. Gerald Edward Gourdine was a formidable figure, an incredible resume, particularly at his time, and his accomplishment reminds us of his contemporaries, the incomparable Paul Robeson. Not to beat the dead horse or the bees in this case, but it's incredible to be here to file this resolution, and what's really exciting about this, and particularly adding African American to the name, as it honors a single accomplishment of a Black man from 100 years ago. This is everything to me, to be able to prioritize African Americans, in particularly, and some may say that it's just a symbol, that it's just a name, but in the way that we preserve our history and identity. And me as an African immigrant woman, and being your far distant cousin from across the ocean, I know the importance of prioritizing the African American people and making sure that we never dilute the conversation, that we are always very intentional in the way that we speak and prioritize the people that have paved the way with their blood, sweat, and tears. I thank you as the family and relatives and advocates that have pushed us to do this, and I'm very happy to do this and look forward to more, to beautifying Roxbury, to representing you in our district, as well as to fighting alongside you. You have a sister or a niece in you, and I hope very soon to break bread and celebrate this. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson. Would anyone else like to speak on this matter? I'd like to speak briefly in thanking Councilor Murphy and Councilor Fernandez-Anderson on recommending this change. This change will also, as someone that worked on veterans issues, but this change will also highlight the incredible contributions and sacrifices of African American veterans. And it's important we do that. We recognize African American veterans. Here they are serving in our major wars of this country, World War I, World War II. And when they return back to Boston or cities across the country, that discrimination still took place. But they were willing to die for our country at very difficult times. And this November we'll recognize Veterans Day, but we also recognize African American veterans with a breakfast that will be hosted by Mayor Wu sometime over the next several weeks. So again, just want to say thank you to Councilor Fernandez-Anderson and Councilor Murphy. Would anyone like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilor Royal, Councilor Baker, Councilor Block, Councilor Braden, Councilor Coletta, Councilor Flaherty, Councilor Lara, Councilor Louis-Jean, Councilor Mejia, Councilor Murphy, who's already added, and please add the chair. Councilor Murphy and Councilor Fernandez-Anderson seek suspension of the rules and adoption of docket 1220. All those in favor say aye. 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 All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. The docket has been adopted. Personnel orders. I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, yeah. Since the family is here, I'd like to ask my colleagues at this time to join me in recognizing this moment with the photograph of the city councilor and with this wonderful family and neighbors. Yeah. Whoever wants to come up here. Whoever wants to come up here, obviously, can come up here. No, no one likes that. No, thank you, my friend. Thank you, my friend.
Except for Jesse, because he's too cool. Yeah.
Send me a picture.
Yeah, he didn't read the memo.
Yeah, I remember the stairs.
Oh, we're gonna look awkward if we are hearing no one else.
Can we put you in the center? Thank you.
How are you?
Good, nice to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for joining.
Nice to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Look, I can see her with everybody say D7.
All day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's where I know him from, yeah.
Okay.
All right, Bruce, keep up the good work.
Mr. Clerk, on docket 1220, could we please add Council Worrell as well?
Yes.
Personnel orders. Mr. Clerk, please read docket 1221, please.
Docket number 1221, Councilor Flynn for Councilor Lara.
The chair seeks suspension of the rules and passage of docket 1221. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The docket is passed. We're on to late files. I am informed by the clerk we have 5 late file matters. Several are, 2 are personnel orders. Then we have a hearing order resolution. But the late file matters now should be on everyone's desk. We will take a vote to add these items to the agenda. All those in favor of adding the late file matters into the agenda say aye. Aye. Thank you. The late file matters have been added into the agenda. Yeah. Mr. Clerk, let's do the personnel ones first.
First late file, Councilor Flynn for Councilor Arroyo.
The chair seeks suspension of the rules and passage of this late file matter. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The docket is passed. Mr. Clerk, please read the second late file matter.
Second late file personnel order, Councilor Flynn for Councilor Arroyo.
The chair seeks suspension of the rules and passage of this second late file matter. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The docket is passed. Mr. Clerk, please read the third late file matter, which is Councilor Lara's resolution.
Offered by Councilor Kendra Lara, resolution recognizing Indigenous Peoples' Day. Whereas the City of Boston now celebrates Indigenous Peoples' Day on the second Monday in October, pursuant to the October 6, 2021 Executive Order of Acting Mayor Kim Janey. And be it resolved that the Council encourages the people of Boston to observe Indigenous Peoples' Day by reflecting upon the dispossession of the homelands and villages of the Massachusetts people of this region who lived here for millennia before the arrival of European settlers, and whose members are a continuing presence that are the caretakers of the land, to reflect upon the history of the other Indigenous peoples who had lived in Boston, and to celebrate the survival of Indigenous peoples against all odds, as well as to celebrate the thriving cultures and values that Indigenous peoples have brought and continue to bring to our city and the wider community. Filed October 5th, 2022.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The chair recognizes Councilor Lara. Councilor Lara, you have the floor.
Thank you, President Flynn. I would like to suspend the rules and add Councilor Louis-Jean as an original co-sponsor.
The chair recognizes Councilor Lara.
Thank you so much. Thanks to an executive order that was signed by Mayor Kim Janey, the City of Boston celebrates Indigenous Peoples' Day on the second Monday of October. I filed this resolution on the urge of local advocates who stress the importance of the City of Boston continuing to recognize Indigenous Peoples' Day. Since time immemorial, American Indians, Alaska Natives, and Native Hawaiians have built a vibrant and diverse cultures, safeguarding land, language, spirit, knowledge, and tradition across the generations. On Indigenous Peoples' Day, here in the City of Boston, we celebrate Indigenous peoples' invaluable contributions and resilience and recognize their inherent sovereignty. Today, I respectfully request that we suspend the rules and pass this resolution so that we can fly the flag of an Indigenous nation for the first time in our city's history. If passed, on Friday, October 7th at approximately 11 a.m., we will be flying the Massachusetts Apponkapog flag for the first time ever. And I would like my council colleagues to please join me, my office, our local Indigenous community members for this honorable occasion. And I'm once more calling for us to suspend and pass this resolution so we can make sure that we make that happen on Friday. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Lara. The chair recognizes Councilor Louis-Jean. Councilor Louis-Jean, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I want to thank Councilor Lara for introducing this resolution to honor Indigenous Peoples' Day. As we all know, Boston is on stolen Massachusetts and Pawtucket land. We honor the many contributions and lament the struggles of the Indigenous population here in our city, many of which, the struggles of which are rooted in European exploration that led to the decimation of many an Indigenous tribe. Here in Boston, when British colonists started arriving in droves, many Indigenous people were killed in wars or forcibly removed to the Boston Harbor Islands. Until 2003, Indigenous people were technically banned from entering Boston based on a 1675 law still on the books until Mayor Menino and the Boston City Council took action to repeal after the advocacy from the Indigenous community. And many of us recently went out to Long Island and realized and saw, and discuss how important it is for us to preserve a lot of the areas of our harbor islands that actually are burial sites, that are sacred sites for folks in the Indigenous community. And it's up to us to really correct the harm that we've created in ignoring the importance of these sites for our Indigenous community. So a true reckoning with history will necessarily change traditions, and change can be hard and uncomfortable, but we owe it to our kids and our kids' kids to try to get it right, to create an inclusive and equitable city, and to live a life where we honor our neighbors. We must work every day to get closer to the truth and to bend the moral arc towards justice. And so I believe continuing to do what former Mayor Kim Janey did in recognizing Indigenous Peoples' Day is an important thing that we do here as a council, and create space for everyone and all of our different cultures that make up this city. So thank you for introducing this resolution, and I look forward to honoring our Indigenous people here in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Louis-Jean. The chair recognizes Councilor Bork. Councilor Bork, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. I just wanted to speak briefly to say, please add my name. I've been privileged to be with the Massachusetts tribe for the raising of their flag on sites in my district. And I think, it's it's deeply ironic and painful that we actually took the name of the tribe for the state, and that we still have a state flag that has a representation of a Native American person on it, and yet so often the history of our Indigenous people on these lands is forgotten and not highlighted. And so it's been very meaningful for me to get to know the leadership of the tribe, and also, of course, the North American Indian Center of Boston that is on the border between my district and Councilor Lara's, just to say that they continue to exert really important moral leadership and be asking us to kind of find ways to really honor this history and mark it more consistently. So just wanted to say that I'll be supporting this today, and please add my name.
Thank you, Councilor Bach. The chair recognizes Councilor Coletta. Councilor Coletta, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President Flynn. I want to thank my colleagues for putting this forth, and please add my name. I'm going to use this space. Well, first of all, let me just say that Indigenous people have endured generations of harm that will take just as much time to undo and provide justice. I am going to use this space here to stress and to underscore to everybody here and everybody listening that, yeah, we have the ability to celebrate multiple cultures and contributions at once. We can honor multiple histories at once, and we can recognize different struggles at once, at the same time, excuse me. What I will just clarify here as well, and for my constituents, is that I have personally encouraged the administration through another executive order to provide clarity on all holidays that are celebrated on the second Monday in October. And as late as today, I have been told that there will be imminent action that is inclusive of all stakeholders, with more conversations to be had. So I celebrate this, and again, please add my name, and I look forward to those conversations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Coletta. Would anyone else like to speak on this matter? Would anyone like to add their name? Please raise your hand. Mr. Clerk, please add Councilor Royal, Councilor Baker, Councilor Braden, Councilor Coletta, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, Councilor Flaherty, Councilor Mejia, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Worrell. Please add the chair. Councilor Lara and Councilor Louis-Jean seek suspension of the rules and adoption of this late file matter. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The docket is adopted. Mr. Clerk, please read the next late file matter, which is Councilor Mejia's hearing order.
Offered by City Councilor Julia Mejia, order for a hearing on Green New Deal for Boston Public Schools plans, especially the plan to merge 6 schools into 3 and split each of them onto 2 campuses. Whereas one of the fundamental responsibilities of the Boston City Council is to ensure that there is accountability, transparency, and accessibility in all city business, including the appropriation of funds to the Boston Public Schools. And be it ordered that the appropriate committee of the Boston City Council hold a hearing regarding government transparency and the potential equity impact of the plan to merge 6 elementary schools into 3.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Mejia. Councilor Mejia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I want to apologize to my colleagues for a late file. I know how exciting that could be, so I will be quick and brief with my comments. We were reached out, our office was contacted by a number of advocates who were really concerned about the process that we were moving as it relates to some of the mergers, and we were advised that the equity planning tool had not been used for this very specific process, and in the interest of making sure that community and families and students and stakeholders all have an ability to weigh in. We know that there's going to be a vote coming down at the school committee that we wanted to take a moment to pause and really get a better handle about how this is going to impact folks. So we are in our office hoping to schedule a speedy hearing so that we have a better understanding of the scope of what is at play, and more importantly, the voice of community in this whole entire process. So, I would like to also say, and I'm sorry that I forgot to say this in the earlier part, that I'd like to suspend rule and add my colleague, Councilor Lara, to join me on this hearing order. Thank you, and sorry for that oversight.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. Councilor Lara is added. The chair recognizes Councilor Lara. Councilor Lara, you have the floor.
Thank you, President Flynn, and I'll also be brief in my remarks, given that this is a late file. The Green New Deal for BPS was presented early on this year by the administration. Previously, we had the Build BPS plan, and what we've heard consistently from people in the communities is that the Build BPS plan and also the Green New Deal for BPS is really falling short when it comes to community engagement and listening to community voice, and including, but not limited to, using the equity tool that has been provided to us in the city, although we have been told that they're hoping to ensure that we're using it in the future. As the chair of the Environmental Justice, Resiliency, and Parks Committee, I know how important it is that we are moving towards a just transition and ensuring that we are not only right-sizing our schools based on our enrollment, but that we're moving as fast as possible towards decarbonization. But one of the tenets and the principles of a just transition is to make sure that we're not causing harm to marginalized communities as we're going through this process. And so although I am incredibly encouraged by the Green New Deal for BPS and the new model that BPS has put forward for our schools, I think that we have to take we have to take good care to ensure proper community process and listening to community voices about the possible impact of this. So I'm happy to partner with Councilor Mejia to move this conversation forward and continue centering the voices of the people who are going to be most impacted by these changes in the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Lara. Would anyone else like to speak on this matter? Would anyone like to add their name? Please raise your hand. Mr. Clerk, please add Councilor Arroyo, Councilor Braden, Councilor Coletta, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, Councilor Louis-Jean, Councilor Worrell. Please add the chair. Anyone else? Did I miss anyone else? This late file matter will be referred to the Education Committee. Mr. Clerk, please read the fifth late file matter, which is my resolution on flag raising.
Offered by Councilor Ed Flynn, resolution recognizing the 111th anniversary of the founding of the Republic of China and flag raising for Taiwan Day. Whereas October 10th is the 111th anniversary of the founding of the Republic of China at Taiwan, and be it further ordered that on October 6, 2022, the Boston City Council orders Property Management Department to raise the flag of the Republic of China on the third flagpole on City Hall Plaza in place of the City of Boston flag.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The chair recognizes Councillor Flynn. Councillor Flynn, you have the floor.
Thank you, Councilor Braden. October 10th is the 111th anniversary of the founding of the Republic of China, Taiwan, so they would like to raise a flag in recognition of that. I'd like to suspend and adopt this resolution so that they can raise this flag. Thank you, Councilor Braden.
Thank you, Councillor Flynn. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their name? Councillor Arroyo, Councillor Bach, Councillor Coletta, Councillor Fernandez-Anderson, Councillor Flaherty, Councillor Lara, Councillor Louis-Jean, Councillor Mejia, Councillor Murphy, Councillor Worrell, and please add my name. Thank you. Oh, I have to take a vote on this. Councillor Flynn seeks suspension of the rules and adoption of the fifth late file. All of those in favour say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The docket has been adopted. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Braden. We're on to green sheets. Anyone wishing to remove a matter from the green sheets may do so at this time. We're on to the consent agenda. I've been informed by the clerk that there are 0 additions to the consent agenda. The chair moves for adoption of the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. Consent agenda has been adopted. Memorials. Today we will adjourn our meeting in memory of the following. Councilors Flaherty, Mejia, and Murphy, Nagel, Lee, De Silva. who died on Saturday after 6 months in the hospital. Councilor Lara Dion Ruiz. For Councilor Flynn and Flaherty, Roger Wedge of Brockton. A moment of silence, please. The chair moves that when we adjourn today, we do so in memory of those individuals, and we are now scheduled to meet again in the Ionella Chamber on Wednesday, October 19th at 12 noon. Before we depart, I want to say thank you to city councilors, city council central staff, the clerk's office for their professional work today. All in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
The council is adjourned.